What happened was that I went to a lunch. David Wolper asked me to come to a lunch at the Beverly Hills Hotel with Stan Margulies and Alex, and I brought Lou Rodo from ABC with me, and we sat at this lunch, and Alex told a story. Alex is one of the greatest storytellers that ever lived, if not the greatest storyteller who ever lived. And he talked about basically his past 10 years of trying to find his roots, trying to find the town from which he came in Africa, and how he did it, and the problems, and he ran out of money, but he could still hear his grandmother saying gambe, which is the word for guitar, and umba, which is the word for pineapple, whatever these things were. And he would keep this refrain going as he told this story. And the story was heart-wrenching. The man's down to no money. He's in England. He finally finds, by accident, a barrel of papers. He goes through these papers and he finds the piece of paper that connects Kunta Kinte to the ship, and the ship to the landing. So he finally gets the connection back to Africa, and then he talks about going to the town, what happened in the town, and they say gambe for guitar and umba for pineapple and all this stuff. And you're sitting there listening to this, and it is breathtaking, and tears are running out. It's an incredible, incredible story. And they say at the end of it, you know, you guys want to do this book? I mean, and I said, yeah, I think we got to do this. We got to put this in development. Get in the car, start driving back with Lou Rudolph, and I said, Lou, I just think we bought a book that doesn't exist. We heard a story about how he's going to write this book, what it's going to be, but how he found but we have no idea what the story is, so we just bought it. Oh my God, I hope this thing's going to work. Alex hadn't written a word about the actual story itself, about what happened to Kunta Kinte. And so that was the first little roll of the dice, of which there were going to be about 20,000 more rolls of the dice. But what we did was we hired our writers. Alex went down. He liked to write on steamers and goes on boat trips and steamers, and kind of romantic, and lock himself up. And he was writing the book. And as he wrote the book, he would send us copies, and Bill Blinn and Ernie Kanoy and a bunch of the guys who were writing it started on the scripts. So we were in a position to, as a result of that, the book was released in October, and we were on the air in January. It was really an extraordinary marriage between the release of the book and the premiere of the show. Of course, the surprise was, what's the story? And reading off the scripts. I actually had never read the book because I didn't have time to. I just read the scripts. So I was working on the scripts, whether they made sense or not. And but we had wonderful writers, really good writers, who were totally into it. And so the scripts came out pretty well, pretty good scripts. Quite, opening script was breathtaking. But we had problems with it. We had, this was the slave ship, and if you remember in Roots, it's the taking of the boy, and he comes in the slave ship and he lands in the United States. And one of the things that we wanted to do was to show the women and show their breasts, and because they didn't have bras on slave ships. And we wanted to do this thing as real as we could. And it was very important that it have that reality feel to it, because it wasn't, in fact. So we had a meeting. ABC had said, no, there's no chance. They got to wear straps. They got to do something. And David and I and Alex flew to New York. We met with Al Schneider, who was head of broadcast standards, the censorship guy. And we had this long, long meeting where we made our pitch about want to be real, and it's important, and we won't be exploited, and blah, blah, blah. And finally, these four guys are sitting there talking about, well, you could have compromise. You could have an A bra and no closer than 30 feet. And then somebody would say, is an A bra big, or is that a small bra? And we were, all these guys started to figure. We finally got a compromise that we were okay, and we could show breasts, and we did it discreetly, and of course not one single letter, but it was one of those nice little network fights that you always have. The strategy on it was this: The problem with Roots was it never had been on television a successful black drama in the history of television. So we are somewhat nervous. I was terrified, and because it was my project, and I thought what we will do is get big, heavyweight white actors and build around it, somewhat in the same thing that we did with Rich Man, Poor Man, and that people will come because we have Lorne Greene and all these white actors, and we'll get no-name black actors and etc. We just were scared no one was going to come to the party. And so we did a lot of unknowns with the black actors, and the particularly hard, most difficult one was Kunta Kinte. And I had seen LeVar's test, which I didn't like very much, LeVar Burton, who was then a sophomore, I think, at USC, and had not done very little acting. He looked great, but the test was not particularly good. So, and we were shooting in like 2 days. We were starting with LeVar. So he came into my office with David and Stan, and we had a meeting with LeVar, and he was so impressed. He was so impressive in person. He was so Kunta Kinte, the energy, the feeling, the power, the positiveness of LeVar, that we said okay, and off we went, and thank God we said okay to LeVar Burton, because he was fabulous. So it was, the development of it was rocky, but not terrible. I worked on worse developments in my life. But we were scared. We were very, very nervous about it.